stories to be told, treasures to be found, silver and gold, dollars and pounds, never worth more than the stories of a town.
The Lady Nelson and another ship, the Albion, sailed up the Derwent River in 1803. Royal Navy Lieutenant John Bowen led 48 settlers to Risdon Cove. They disembarked, raised the flag, and so began the checkered early days of a settlement called Hobart Town. The Dutchman Abel Tasman had actually mapped the west coast of Tasmania some 161 years earlier. But these were the first Europeans to arrive with the intention of staying.
New settlements are usually dictated by access to fresh water, and Hobart Town was no exception. The original settlement at Risdon Cove ran into trouble after about 12 months due to the access to fresh water, so they moved lock, stock and barrel across to the other side of the valley, eventually settling on Sullivan's Cove, right here.
The town took a while to establish. It remained a mishmash of tents and hastily constructed buildings. When Governor Lachlan Macquarie visited in 1811, he observed with much regret the state of the town and ordered that it be surveyed immediately. Macquarie revisited in 1821 and was pleased with the town's progress and the development of some substantial buildings. Hobart Town's early reputation was mixed at best. As one scribe wrote of the burgeoning town, that metropolis of murderers and university of burglary and all sub-to-human abomination, Hobart Town.
My name's Louisa Regan. I got nicked in London for stealing a loaf of bread. 7 years in Van Diemen's Land in this female factory or women's prison in South Hobart. I tell you, the voyage has taken nearly 5 months, and that wasn't pleasant. But now that we're here, I've heard terrible things about this place and the walk up Macquarie Street through the thick mud. You should have seen the poor horses. Now here we are. You can almost feel the misery dripping off the walls.
Many smaller yards lie within these forbidding walls, but it is to the assignables yard that Louisa Regan is sent upon arrival. As one of the few doctors who have agreed to come down here to minister to the poor souls inside, I've come to know their plight very well. The women in the assignables yard would be lined up as cattle, to be inspected by free settlers, officers and the like, and chosen as servants to go with them. When he has made his choice, the free settler will drop his kerchief at the woman's feet. If she picked it up, she went with him as his servant. But many women knew the consequences of a wrong decision. Brutality and cruelty are rife in the fledgling colony, and many women committed a misdemeanor as soon as they could to get back within these walls.
The settlement's fresh water came from a stream which was called the Rivulet. This water supply became a constant source of tension for the young town.
The rivulet continues to flow under Hobart today through this series of tunnels and bridges. For the early town, this was stormwater, sewer and freshwater supply all rolled into one. Certainly not an ideal situation for a rapidly growing town. As one newspaper reported, it was the worst and vilest ditch with which any inhabited place was ever annoyed.
During the hot summer months, it occasionally slowed to little more than a stinking, muddy trickle. So convicts began to build a paved stream to assist with the flow and quality of the water.
This brick lining here is interesting. On the very edge of the bricks are these very distinct arrowheads made by the convicts at Port Arthur.
The battle for the quality and control of Hobart's fresh water was to become a major issue for the expanding town. Alcohol was one of the key ingredients for the early settlement. Those in power tolerated its presence, recognising its ability to, in their words, settle restlessness. For the convicts, it provided a temporary escape from the privations and pain of the colony. It's no wonder that the Cascade Brewery emerged in 1824 to meet a growing demand.
The brewery was the brainchild of one of Tasmania's most colourful entrepreneurs, Peter de Graves. The idea came to him while he was doing time in a Hobart jail in 1823. Unfortunately, his debtors in London had caught up with him, even though he had a very lucrative and successful flour mill and timber mill already operating on this site here. The early days of the brewery was controversial. De Graves' determination to tie up the water supply for his brewery to the detriment of the town below was seen as scandalous.
Eventually, a compromise was reached and the town set about creating a water supply that wasn't dependent upon the brewery. De Graves' empire expanded unabated though. Shipbuilding and theatres were added to his list of interests, and beer was soon being exported to the growing markets of Victoria and New South Wales.
Peter de Graves' legacy today? Australia's oldest operating brewery. Cheers.
I had to do 6 months in the crime yard as my punishment for getting pregnant. After that, I behaved myself and fairly quickly earned my promotion back into the assignables yard again. There I was, lined up one day, waiting to be assigned out to be a servant, when in walks this fella. Got a long story short, I'd like to introduce you to my new husband. This is William.
Pleased to meet you.
William and I ended up getting employment up at the brewery. And you know, Hobart Town's turned out not to be such a bad place after all.
This is Australia's oldest theatre, built by de Graves in 1837, amongst the tanneries, the breweries and the brothels in a district called Wapping. The theatre was one of de Graves' poorer business decisions. In fact, he would complain regularly to friends that the investment never earned him more than 3%. He even tried to sell the theatre on a number of occasions.
In fact, no record of de Graves' attendance at any performance can be found. But perhaps that was due to a slightly different theatrical experience than you would expect today.
Entertainment ranged from music hall to cockfights. Patrons could even get their thirst quenched in a seedy establishment called the Shades, which was a tavern right in the middle of the auditorium here, as an extension of the orchestra pit. The theatre has a special place in the hearts of the acting fraternity, both here and abroad. As Laurence Olivier said when he played here, it has built up atmosphere. And the secret to atmosphere is antiquity. Don't let it go. And thankfully, the people of Hobart haven't. Hobart people have always been very proud of having Australia's first theatre, but this little addition to the streetscape has proved far less popular. Back in the early 50s, you couldn't get a park anywhere in the city, so the City Council decided to install these to help regain control of the streets.
In fact, it was April Fool's Day in 1955 when Hobart became the first city in Australia to introduce parking meters. Councils across the country haven't looked back since. One of the lasting images to come from Hobart is this. The collapse of the Tasman Bridge was triggered by the bulk ore ship MV Lake Illawarra ramming two of the pylons. 127 metres of bridge disappeared instantly from the roadway, some of which fell across the deck of the ship, killing 7 crew and sinking the vessel. 4 cars plummeted into the Derwent, killing 5 people. Frank and Sylvia Manley were also driving across the bridge that night.
We'd been down the Styx River for a picnic. We was on our way home, and when we got on the bridge, I seen a set of taillights shining.
I was peering out the window like this, trying to see because there was no light, and I said, the bridge is gone. And with that, he just automatically put the brakes on and we just stopped there.
And wife said, put it in reverse. I said, get out. I was looking straight down into the river and all you could see like a big black whirlpool.
The part where I got out, the bridge wasn't broken on my side, but it was broken on Frank's side.
The door went right open and there wasn't anything down here to tread on. So I had to kind of grab that and walk out the back of the car like that. Sat there to the Tuesday afternoon. But on the Tuesday they decided they'd let the tow truck down within 200 metres of the car. But it don't get used much now. Take it to car shows and that's it.
Needless to say, navigating our way through the bridge is a better organised affair these days than it was back in 1975. All right, you lot, let's go back to the mainland. Come on, put your backs into it.